What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the latest episode of WWE Chronicle, focusing on Lana. Now, I will say this right off the bat, as soon as I heard this announced, I wasn't all that excited, to be completely honest with you, just because, listen, I'll talk about Lana in a second as far as how she kind of came across in this documentary. She came across great. Super nice woman, very kind individual. I feel really bad for her after watching this. But as far as a character on the show, she isn't really high up in the totem pole. Now, granted, she has been the recent focus of Raw, going into Survivor Series. This did air on Saturday before the pay-per-view. But it's not like she's Asuka or someone like the last couple of episodes. The last one had Bayley before the big Hell in the Cell Women's Championship match with Sasha Banks. The one before that focused on Jey Uso before the Universal Championship match. I mean, Lana wasn't in the main event of Survivor Series, so it felt a little weird. I really don't give a shit about Lana. As a person, she seems amazing. I'll talk about that in a moment. As a character, how they portray her on the show, I really have no more of a reason to care about this woman than I have at any other point in her career, aside from when she was a manager, which is when I thought she did her best work. As a wrestler, I don't think that's her forte. But we'll talk about the feedback that she's gotten lately, the hate that she's gotten. Now listen, I'm not a Lana fan. I would never tell someone to go fucking kill themselves. That's what she said that she got on Twitter, which I can believe that, knowing wrestling fans. That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't make it any less depressing, though. Very sad stuff. But this actually ended up being a very good special. Maybe not my favorite Chronicle ever, but it still was very well done. And this is the type of shit they should have aired on the fucking show. Why weren't they airing this stuff on the show going into Survivor Series? I mean, I love the Chronicles. I love the network stuff. They do an amazing job. But they really should be taking some of this network stuff and airing it on Raw and not just keeping it exclusive to the network. How many people watch Raw also watch this stuff? I mean, honestly, like, I would assume a very small portion of people. Maybe a quarter, maybe. I mean, this was great, but like, they need to be showing this stuff on Raw. Had they aired this stuff on Raw in recent weeks, I probably would be not as... I mean, the booking of Lana has still been atrocious by and large, but I probably would care more about her character than I have lately. So I'm just saying, you know, just to start off there, it's worth mentioning that they really should have aired this stuff on Raw, because it was that good that I'm almost frustrated it hasn't gotten more attention or hasn't been talked about. It really got lost in the shuffle among all the other Undertaker content on the network. Then you have a random Chronicle on Lana. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a little surprised that they would kind of do this then. But maybe that's why, because they figured, oh, Lana's a lesser-known name, so it's okay. But really, more people should check this out, because it was that good. So the first thing that we see is from November 12th. And we see her writing a caption for one of her, like, Instagram posts or Twitters or Twitter tweets. Or I sound like a boomer right now. I'm on Twitter. I mean, it looks like she's writing a post for a Twitter post. She's writing a caption for a Twitter post or for the tweet, whatever, about the Chronicle coming out, which she made the announcement a couple of weeks ago. And after the producer asks her, what do you think that feedback is going to be like to that tweet? She says that she assumes the feedback will not be nice. And sure enough, she reads some positive comments, but a lot of which are negative. And it makes her very emotional that she wants to prove these people wrong. So this Chronicle follows Lana from October 26th, from right after the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, from the night basically that she qualified for the Raw's women's team at Survivor Series, up until November 16th, which would have been, I think, last Monday, I think. Yeah, it was last Monday. It was November 16th. So one of the first things that we see on this special is her showing off her parents' house. I don't know where they live, but she's showing off her parents' house and showing off posters that she had of her dancing and stuff, which was cool. She was born in Gainesville, Florida. I know there's a Gainesville, Georgia. I didn't know there was a Gainesville, Florida. That's what she said. She moved around a ton before moving to Latvia, which is, I believe, how you pronounce it, at the age of 5, which is the former Soviet Union, just to kind of give you some context there. So it was so different than America to the point where, at that point when she was growing up, she had to take a 2-hour train ride to even attempt to call anyone in America, which is crazy. In Russia, in Latvia, you had to pick your profession at the age of 9. I mean, that's crazy. At the age of 9, my friggin' sister, I have an 8-year-old sister. I can't even imagine that she knows what she wants to do at the age of 9. So she tried out for the National Academy to be a ballet dancer, and they never had any days off. Very, very rigorous schedule and procedure and everything. They were very fucking tough on her, to the point where they told her to be skinnier. She slept with weights on her legs in order to become more flexible. That is crazy. The teachers called her fat. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, this is Russia. I don't know how this is it's always been. Only was at that time, still is now. I don't know, but that's crazy. So back in 2012, 2013, I don't know when she moved over here to the States, but she made vision boards. There's a big chunk of her life that they kind of skip over. I don't know at what point she moved back to the States, but in 2012, 2013, she made vision boards. And she actually had WWE on there. And she wrote a whole bunch of crazy stuff on there. Just it's a vision board, why not? She was so, at a point, such at a rock bottom in her life. At one point in 2011, she only had $50 in her account, nothing else. Just $50 and that was it. So she tried out for the WWE Diva Search in 2013, a very long process. It took 6 months in order to get signed. It went from 600 girls. It sounds like American Idol, and they show some of the footage here of Lana doing the Diva Search, but it went from 500 or 600 girls to 35. Alexa Bliss was right in front of her in line. JoJo is a couple of people ahead of her. Obviously, both women were signed. I don't know if it was not, 5 people, but I assume JoJo was signed because they were signed for Total Divas. JoJo was signed. Eva Marie was probably there. Alexa Bliss would make sense, too. She got signed in 2013, so she was probably signed, too. Triple H was right there in front of her, so she was freaking out. She never said how she got into wrestling. She just wrote on the vision board she wanted to be in WWE, be a diva, whatever. Again, I don't know at what point she started watching it, or I'm not exactly sure, because I don't think she met Rusev until they both came into the company. So it's not Rusev's there and he likes it, so that's how I got into it. I don't think they met until they got to NXT. So she learned basic wrestling moves from Norman Smiley during this tryout. And she was not among the first 5 people they signed, but they did call her about 5 days later on her birthday, and they signed her then. They offered her a contract then, which is a pretty cool moment. So she moved to NXT 3 months after that. She took inspiration from her teachers as a manager. And not her teachers in NXT, but the ballet teachers that she had that were extremely rough on her and extremely difficult. She took inspiration from them to use as a manager when she became a manager for Rusev. Now, again, worth mentioning here, as you could probably expect, Rusev's name, Miro, whatever, his name is not mentioned once. We don't see Miro, we don't hear from Miro. She does allude to the fact that her riding partner, that being her husband, is no longer on the road with her. Other than that, you would think that she's single. You would think that she was a single woman or a divorced or whatever, because we don't see anything about Rusev at all. Which I know it's her Chronicle, but he's a big part of her life too. I understand why they can't. He just left for the opposition. You would probably expect if he didn't go to AEW, he probably would have been in this documentary, even though they just fired the guy 6-7 months ago. But anyway, she knew that ballet would not take her where she wanted to go. She wanted to entertain stadiums full of people. So while she was in NXT, she filled the notebook with all of notes, how to get better, stuff like that. And that's why, I guess that's how she kind of fell in love with wrestling. That was kind of her route to becoming a bigger superstar. So anyway, she recalls her first match being at WrestleMania 32, which a lot of people don't talk about enough, she says, being in front of 101,000 people. I guess she didn't have any dark matches in NXT. I mean, she never wrestled on the show, but I guess she never even wrestled in dark matches and shit like that. But her first televised match, for a fact, was in front of 100,000 people. In reality, it was 90,000, but according to WWE's numbers, it was over 100,000 people. And she knew in that moment that she felt like she was born to do this. That's how she felt in that moment. So that was the 10-woman tag team match. A lot of people don't remember it just because she didn't wrestle after that for another year or so, and it was on the pre-show, so it's very easy for people to forget about that match. But she just wants to be remembered. She doesn't care about being the face of the company, the face of the women's division. She's never even, I don't think she's even ever said that she wants to be the champion. Obviously, everyone wants to be a champion, but she doesn't care as much about that as much as she does wanting to be remembered, which I think is really nice. So they show her winning the Survivor Series qualifying Fatal 4-Way, on the October 26th edition of Raw. That put her on the women's squad for Team Raw at the pay-per-view. And then we see her with her parents, and her dad thinks that she has always been. He has always felt that she's always been great at making people laugh. Lana's never made me laugh before, but that's what he feels that her strength is, and maybe it's because of how she's been portrayed in the company, but I thought that was interesting. He never really realized how dangerous WWE was until he saw her do it and get beat up and all this other stuff. And then she shows off the evolution of her attire and how it's a big process and how she gets all these really nice attires, this really nice gear from like fashion designers, and they don't really know how wrestling works, so it's got to be like extra supportive. So she had to get like, straps in the back in addition to the front just to make sure it didn't fall apart, so it's a whole process to get the attire made. She then talks about a relationship with Natalya and Natty. So Natalya still wanted Lana to wear pink and black even after they split up because, I don't know, I guess it meant a lot to Lana. So that really meant a lot to Lana that Natalya let her still wear the colors even after they split up a couple of months ago. Natalya has always been there for her, she said. Phone call in the night, freaking out, not confident. We saw a little bit of that relationship on Total Divas, I think. But you don't really know how good of friends they are until you hear her talk about it here. So she was very grateful to be training with both Natty and TJ, the former Tyson Kidd, who they do name here as Tyson Kidd, the former WWE superstar, had to retire 5 years ago due to the awful neck injury he sustained in 2015. They've been very helpful with her and helping her train. I think actually Tyson Kidd did help Lana train, I feel like, on an episode of Total Divas, like a long time ago, years ago. But that's how far back their friendship goes. And the lack of live events has really hurt her. She mentioned that here. Like, during the pandemic, there's no house shows. There probably won't be for a long time. That's where she would get all of her reps in. She wouldn't wrestle a lot on the shows, on Raw and SmackDown and shit, but she would wrestle a lot on the house shows. So that was a big blow when they got rid of the house shows due to the pandemic. And one thing that Natty told her that has always stuck with her was that the one real thing about wrestling is how they treat each other. And that's how she's learned to treat other people with respect. And she just really wants to touch people's emotions, she says. That it's been hard to stay positive in the last year, and how not being on the road 300 days out of the year, which is usually a positive if you're not on the road that much, but it means no practice. It means no repetition. It means being home. I mean, not really by yourself, her husband's there, but being home, without places to go, and that's the type of person that she is. It's hurt her. It's hurt her, and it's made her depressed and stuff like that. This was probably the most heart-wrenching part of the entire documentary. No fans being there, because usually that was her response, and now the only interaction that she has with fans, and the house shows, the actual shows is when she would interact with the people. The only interaction that she has with people now outside of her own husband, and being in WWE backstage, is the people online. And not being there with her husband on the road, who's always been there for her, has also been difficult. And again, she didn't name him by name, but you obviously know who she's talking about. She couldn't handle people being so mean. She even asked her parents to pray for her, which they do later on in the episode. She admits while she's, getting through tears here that her mental health is bad. She's depressed. She even asks, why should I try? Why should I try if people are going to be this mean to me, telling me to kill myself? Why should I even try? But she does say continuing to grow and continuing to learn, even though she's not that good in the ring, I got to give her credit, has helped save her from depression, which I thought was really nice. The rest of it was just fucking depressing. I thought that was really sad. So we fast forward to November 9th. She's backstage at Raw, and Natalya told her that she was the little engine that could, which kind of helps instill inspiration and instill optimism in people. And Lana, according to Natalya, is the little engine that could. So her grandparents, she said, right before she goes out for the episode of Raw that night, she's texting her grandparents. My grandparents don't text, but hers do, I guess. And they're like 90 years old, which more credit to them. But they love watching her wrestle. And unfortunately, they saw her get put through a table that night on Raw, because she's gotten put through a table on Raw every week for the past 2.5 months now. It feels like forever, but I think it's been around 2 months. So she's determined to follow her own path no matter what. No matter what people say or think, she's determined to follow her own path and be successful. So they show her doing a cover shoot back on November 12th for Bella Magazine. She's very excited to be shooting again. She loves the modeling. She loves the photo shoot. She loves that type of shit. She loves it so much that it doesn't really feel like work. And it also means a lot to her to make the Survivor Series team. She said that she's been a part of 2 Survivor Series. She's never wrestled at the pay-per-view until this year, I don't think. I know she was like a manager or something. She was in like SmackDown's corner, I think, in 2018. She was a part of one of the teams in 2017 or 2018 as a manager. She managed Rusev at Survivor Series, I think in 2014. I don't know when else they would have been together on the show. It was probably 2014 and 2018. She was there as like a manager or a mascot or whatever in 2017 or 2018, and then she was there with Rusev in 2014. But she's never wrestled until this year, which means a lot to her. For her to be able to on the team, not just given a spot, but she had to qualify. She had to earn it. And she also would have accepted, getting into the business that she had to fail on TV. She didn't have a lot of, obviously, she had no repetition at all. That was her first fucking match at WrestleMania. They really should have given her more reps in NXT before they called her up or put her in the ring on the main shows. She should have pulled an Eva Marie, brought her back down to NXT, and Eva Marie improved. Lana, not so much. So she knew that she was going to have to fail on TV and that people would have to watch her fail on TV. She had to brace for that reaction. She didn't want people to see that, but she knew that was the reality and that she had to deal with it. And we hear her mom discussing the origins of her name right before they pray for her. And she talks about how she picked up the name CJ, Catherine Joy. I had no idea Lana's real name was Catherine. I knew her name was CJ Perry. I guess I never really cared to find out what her actual name was. Catherine is her name, and her middle name is Joy, Catherine Joy. Did not know that. I thought that was really cool. So the final three things that she says here as we wind down, she says, sometimes we need a little bit of hope to keep on going. If you chase your dreams, anything is possible. And then the big takeaway from this special that a lot of people have picked up on, I want my happy ending. That's how it is in the shows and the movies, right? Everyone wants their happy ending. I want my happy ending, is what she says. So again, I thought this was really, really good. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, I'm a fan of Lana now. What a great performer. She tries. She obviously puts in the effort. No one said she doesn't try. And at least she comes across like a great person, which is awesome. She seems very genuinely nice. As a performer in the ring, I don't think she's any good. And I think being on the main shows as opposed to like in developmental, which is what fucking NXT is for, really hurts her. That doesn't do her any favors. And then the booking is just atrocious. Up until Survivor Series, she had been put through a table every fucking week. And lost every week too. So like, why would people care about her? Even though she's... If you really want to make her a babyface, which is apparently the plan, put this shit on the show. Air this shit on Raw. Air this shit on their social media. I mean, I guess they do it on social media, but put this on Raw. This would make me care infinitely more about Lana than I did previously. But I thought this was very good. Again, not the greatest Chronicle ever, but very eye-opening. And hopefully it helps, tone down the negative feedback. I've never once tweeted Lana specifically to say, oh, you suck, you don't belong here, you got fired. I mean, I think that's just shitty. When people do that and say, go kill yourself especially, I mean, like, dude, what kind of fucking problems do you have yourself where you have to say that shit to her? You can have an opinion of her wrestling ability. But like as a person, she seems very nice. I just don't think that's necessary. But again, this was very good. Check it out right now on the WWE Network. WWE Chronicle featuring Lana. Check out my other Chronicle reviews right here on WWE Network and Chill in the description box down below in the playlist entitled WWE Chronicle Reviews. Like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Hit that bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up, including tomorrow. Later today, we got Raw Talk review. But tomorrow, in addition to hashtag AskGSM, which is a Wednesday staple, I'm also going to have, as you people have probably been waiting for, my review of the Broken Skull Sessions featuring The Undertaker, Part 2, One More Round. Went up on Sunday. Fantastic piece of business. I'll be breaking it down tomorrow here on the channel. So again, hit that bell button to be notified when that video goes up. First thing on Wednesday morning. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.